May the words that I speak bring glory to Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, risen from the dead. And may he live in our hearts forever. Amen. There's a lovely Easter garden in the Lady Chapel. Do go and have a look at it. I was quite envious of it. So I thought I ought to make my own Easter garden. As they say, here's one I made earlier. Actually, it was my grandson Alfred, who is fortunately has a faith, but he has a faith in Lego. And that's what he made. And there is the cross, the empty tomb, the stone rolled back, and we even have a figure which was on the cross, went into the tomb, and is now that mysterious young man from the gospel reading, proclaiming the resurrection. Well, you can give him a round of applause. He's not here, but we do make a fair old thing of Easter gardens. They are lovely. The odd thing is that the first Christians made no Easter gardens at all. Now, of course, they had the original one there just outside Jerusalem where Joseph of Arimathea's tomb was. But they made nothing of that either. They didn't go particularly to worship there. And they certainly didn't go back to Golgotha. He steered well clear of that because, just think of this for a moment, after Jesus was crucified, a couple of days pause for the big festival of Passover, there'd have been a work again crucifying other people on Golgotha. It was just the place of crucifixion, teeming with Roman soldiers and officials, the last place that the disciples were going to go. And in any case, why should they go back to the past? Well, the whole point was that Jesus was now the future. And that's really how Mark's gospel, with this sudden ending, however it arose, leaves us. With the women bolting, and Jesus going on before, it says, into Galilee. Jesus becomes incredibly portable, if I could put it that way. He's no longer tied to Jerusalem, to Galilee, to Judea. He's gone out into the whole world. And to show how easy and portable the gospel is, I just thought we might do a little exercise for a moment or two. Just imagine that the Archbishop comes to you, right, and says, look, got great news for you. The lost continent of Atlantis wasn't lost after all, it was just mislaid. They found it again. But of course it's missed out on 2,000 years of history. There's no church there. So you've got to go. We can't spare any vicars, we're short of them back home anyway. You've got to go and found the church. Pack up the things you need and get going. So you've got to found a church. What are you going to take with you? Any suggestions from any of the younger people? What should we take with us to found a church? What do we need? Any ideas? Yeah? People. Oh, right. Well, we can't take any people with us. But the good news is there will be people there when we get there. We're on our own. Shortage of suggestions, but fortunately I came prepared since this is this day. And we're having a communion. I thought somebody might have said bread. You need to take bread for the communion. And certainly wine. That has nothing to do with the communion. Right, no, that you wouldn't. Bread, wine, chalice. Bible. I did wonder if somebody would say buildings, and I was going to get someone to stand here and be a pillar of the church. I think it's Winston Churchill, it always is Winston Churchill, isn't it, who said, I'm not exactly a pillar of the church, I'm more a sort of buttress. I support it from the outside. There's a lot of people like that. Those things to found the church, that's how portable it is really. Bible, wine, bit of bread, and that's all you need to found a church. But in fact, let's be realistic. Can you imagine that the lost continent of Atlantis didn't brew wine? So that'll be there. That they don't bake bread. All right, it might be made from some rather obscure sort of vegetable. They'll have some sort of biscuits we could use. So you don't even need that. So that's all you need to take to the people. That's all it takes. But then, wait a minute, I thought about that, and I thought, wait a minute, the early disciples didn't have that. They couldn't have had the whole Old Testament, because that took up 20 or 30 scrolls that you could hardly carry with you. They didn't have the New Testament, because they hadn't written it yet. What they had was their memories of Jesus, the stories that he told, his parables, their memories of the sort of person he was, and simply this story of his last days, of his crucifixion and resurrection. So if you had a really good memory, you wouldn't even need the Bible. You'd just need, well, you were right in a way, people. You just need one believer. Maybe it would be handy if they had a friend. Most of the apostles went out in 2s and 3s. Just the believer who could tell the story of Jesus. And the amazing thing was, and is, and ever shall be, was that when someone goes and with faith and trust tells the story of Jesus Christ, who went about doing good, who died and who rose again, that when the story is told, hearts are moved and lives are changed, and the risen Jesus is there. That, I think, is the message to take from this open ending of Mark's Gospel. However we got it, that's what we've got. Jesus Christ has gone before us. He is not dead, he is risen. He is not past, he is present, and he is future. Which is why we say, I don't know if you ever noticed, but I made this point to someone this week who wasn't a believer, but he said, oh, he's not risen yet, is it? It's not Easter Sunday. And I said, yes, of course he's risen. He said, oh yeah, he has risen. I said, no, he is risen. Right? Now, if Jesus Christ had risen, dies again. But Jesus Christ is risen. That's how he is in heaven, as our risen Lord. He continues to be the risen one, the one in whom death is overcome, in whom life is restored, in whom evil is defeated, in whom, if anyone believes, they are a new creation. The future of Jesus is as open as the entrance to the tomb, as open as those women bolting into an unknown future. He goes on. He is risen. If we will but receive him, Christ has been made alive. He lives in you. He lives in anyone who will believe the good news of his resurrection. For the resurrection isn't the conclusion of the gospel, it's the beginning. And what on Good Friday seemed like a hopeless end is now an endless hope. Hallelujah.